when you recognize the authority of God and what he is able to do, his hand is with you, and you will see him providing provisions necessary to build that wall. He goes through, verse 11 says this, "So I came to Jerusalem, and I was there 3 days. And I asked myself, what was it that Nehemiah would have to do for 3 days? First thing that he did is he rested. Then he prayed. And then he planned. He didn't say anything to anybody except in the middle of the night, he got up and he decided to inspect the wall, walking around the city to find out what truly was the condition of this wall. And so for this church, because I know God's got an incredible message from this church, I know he's got an incredible deed, a duty for this church to accomplish, I want to describe to you the wall that is in the community that you live in. Because that wall has been torn down. It has been totally destroyed. And it is up to us as families to build this wall up. Every day in America, this is what the young people have to face in a school day in America. Every day, here's what they're looking at. In the United States, every day in America, 6 teens commit suicide. Every day in America, more than 100,000 kids bring weapons to school. 135 of those weapons are guns. Every day in America, 7 kids ages 10 to 19 are murdered. Every day in America, 7 juveniles, 17 years old and under, are arrested for murder. Every day in America, 8 teenagers are raped. Every day in America, 1,000, 3,000 children are sexually abused. Every day in America, 7,500 teenagers have become sexually active. Every day in America, 1,000 unwed teenage girls are having a baby. More than 1,000 teenage girls every day in America have an abortion. More than 4,000 teenagers contract a STD every day in America. 1,000 teens every day in America begin using alcohol. Every day in America, 8 teens die from alcohol-related deaths. More than 4,800 teenagers every day in America will smoke their first cigarette. More than 2,700 kids watch their parents separate or get a divorce every day in America. Every day in America, teenagers will watch 7 hours and 12 minutes of TV. 3,000 children every day in America is called in because they're a runaway. And what's even sadder is that every day in America, parents will spend 5.5 minutes of meaningful conversations with their teenagers. And every day in America, the church must give an account for what they did or did not do in a godly impact for this world. Can you agree with me that the walls around this country have fallen down? And yet it is the church that in their duty will raise these walls up with the ministries. You're going to ask me and say, we're a small congregation. How can a congregation this small be able to take care of something that large? I want to remind you, Gideon only had 300, and he took out 10,000. It is not the size that matters. It is whether you are willing to be receptive to God's voice talking to you, using you, raising you up to do his great service. Are you ready for that? It doesn't matter how old you are. I saw a 3-year-old girl last Sabbath, right here, bring tears down in a congregation's from their eyes in listening to her share the 23rd Psalms. It doesn't matter how old you are, because even the oldest that are here, maybe some that are not even here in the church today, but are at home, even with prayer, can be one of the most powerful warriors that this church, on their knees, has ever seen. Nehemiah goes through and he looks at the wall. He then comes to the children of Israel and he starts speaking to them. And he says this, "Let us build the wall of Jerusalem that we may no longer be of reproach." And so they rose up in this is verse 18. "And I told them that the hand of my God, which has been good upon me, and also upon the king's word that he has spoken to me." So they said, "Let us rise up and build." Then they set their hands to do this good work. It's going to take all of us as a part of this good work. But I want to caution you with this. There are those that will try to do whatever they can to sabotage, undermine, and oppose anything this small congregation is willing to put up front for God. And you will find that they will do all different things to bring it low. It's interesting that in verse 19, Nehemiah then brings that topic out. But Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem, the Arab, when they saw these things, they laughed and they scorned. Now, I'm a person that likes to look at what the meaning of the names mean. I like looking at what they have behind the name, because when you put three together, there's usually a reason why those three are picked out to be able to go after and undermine God's will in a nation. See, Sanballat means he was a moon god. He was named after a moon god, and the meaning of his name depicts 3-letter word, sin. Another individual, as far as Tobiah, his name was, even though it had a Hebrew meaning, Yahweh is good, he refused to acknowledge Yahweh as God. And Geshem, his name meant shower. See, his job was basically to shower down, to put out the light that is there. If he sees a smoldering wick, he will put it out. And you'll find that these three things tend to tear down individuals that are trying to build ministries up. Sin, those that have false pretense that behave as God, they may even come in the name of God, but their behavior doesn't come close. And those that will do whatever they can to discourage and put out the energy and the life of a ministry. Those three things. So I want to encourage those, if God is speaking to your heart to take part and be a part of ministry, what I want you to be able to do is, through this week, is pray, talk to the Lord, and see what he's telling you to do. He may be asking you to do the impossible. But I ask you to do this. Set aside that which is certain for the uncertain and watch God do the impossible in your life. Recognize that, yes, there are those, when you start doing the will of God, that will rise up and do whatever they can to sabotage God's will anywhere they're at. They will be there, but God has provisions. Let me go further. Nehemiah starts putting this together. As he goes through verse 9, so I answered them and said to him, "The God of heaven, he himself will prosper us. Therefore, we, his servants, will rise and build. But you," those that are trying to sabotage and undo the things that are there, "but you have no inheritance or right or memorial in Jerusalem." You see, if they are not a part of it, God is saying, your name's not going to be there. He's looking for individuals that have a courage to stand up. It's interesting, in chapter 3, verse 1, the first one was Eliashib. His name meant God would restore, and what Nehemiah starts doing is bringing families together, shoulder to shoulder, building the wall. One right after the next. And they were only responsible for the wall that was in front of them, first beginning in front of their own home. Build your wall.